Hey there and welcome back. We've got some more Cavalry action figures for your enjoyment from Chicken Fried Toys. This is part of the Dime Novel Legends. As a quick bit of backstory, these figures were part of a 2020 Kickstarter put on by Chicken Fried Toys, and it's taken a while for them to get produced and made, but I hear that they are actually shipping out and some people are getting notices, so that's really cool. So these are technically still pre-release reviews, and these figures were provided to me by Chicken Fried Toys for this, so you could see what these figures look like, as opposed to just looking at all those 3D renders over the last couple years. So who do we have today? Well, we've got Field Veteran on the left and Native Scout on the right. And we'll bring these just a little bit closer. You can see that this is Eagle Forces Black Rope. And there's a nice little picture. I love these packages. We won't talk about that anymore. On the back, you see the figure, the cross-sell of the other characters coming in 2024. Then right down there, there is a bit about the Cavalry Scout Black Rope. And if you want, you can pause, read through that, and we can move on. Down here, this is limited to 2,000 pieces. There should be some available on the Chicken Fried website, Chicken Fried Toys website after fulfillment is complete, but I don't know how many. Over here we've got Field Veteran, and it says right there near the bottom that this is the portrait of Gray Childs. So, does that look like Gray Childs? Field Veteran, flip this around, there's the character, the figure up there, the cross-sell la-di-da. We've got right here the Field Veteran info. You can pause, you can read through that real quick. Now this figure is actually limited to 1,000 pieces, so not nearly as many. So if you want this one, you might want to grab it before it has the opportunity to sell out. Now let's get these guys off the card. We begin with Black Rope, and here is the figure on the left side. On the right side, I'll throw up the digital render so you can see what the similarities are, what the differences are, and so forth. Then we're going to get up close and look at these accessories, beginning with the tomahawk, then his knife, then his rifle, and I've got to point out a couple bits of detail. Look at the gold, and then look at the feather that's hanging down from it. His handgun, you get this feather, and I believe this is meant to be affixed, like glued onto the figure somewhere. And of course he has a hat. And finally, a 3-peg figure stand with the Chicken Fried Toys logo on it. I'm just going to say that I think this figure is really cool, but rarely does a time come when I don't think a figure is cool, and it's got to be a pretty bad figure for me to not think it's pretty cool. Let's get real close here, and you can see the head sculpt on there. Much closer, the detail on there. Got the long flowing hair, you've got the red bandana. We'll back up just a little bit, and then you can see other little details like this right there. This right there. I like the colors and the texture here. Can we get closer? It's a fun bit of coloring and texture through there. You got the buttons on his jacket. We'll turn him around. Got the little bit of cloth hanging out below his jacket there. Little gold spurs and gold buckles on his boots. It's very cool. He's got the standard articulation of a Chicken Fried toy figure. His head can rotate back and forth. However, it's very limited. This is looking down, and that's looking up, so there's really not a lot of range of motion up and down. His arm rotates all the way around and can lift. And I would like to word of quick caution. When you go to articulate your figure, if it seems to be tight or tough, go ahead and heat that figure up, whether it's water or a a hair dryer. But that would be good to help loosen those joints. You don't want to break a figure, especially a brand new, and you don't ever want to break a figure, but especially a brand new figure. Arms rotate at the elbow. These out of the box actually worked really well. And his arm is about 90 degrees. The wrists rotate and has a bit of a hinge. The hinge is a little bit tight with this jacket, I've noticed. So there's not a huge range of motion here. Look at the detail there on the jacket. The ball joint at the waist allows for a little bit of movement. He can bend forward, and he can bend back. That's about as far as I could make him go. Twisting side to side, it's a little tight, but it does work. It works enough for when you're going to pose this figure or do photography or put him on your shelf. It works well. If you want him to do the splits, that's about what you can get. And there's going to be a hindrance trying to get him to sit just a little bit. It's not going to be a full 90-degree sit. That's about what you're looking at there. There is double pin at the knee, and he can go back that far. And he has the typical rotation hinge and pivot down here, but none of them work very well, and I don't want that to sound very negative, because he still makes some pretty good poses. I kind of do wish there was a little bit more range of motion in the hinge, so you could stretch the legs maybe a little further. But with the pivot, you can do a few fun little poses, so they're not just like a vanilla standing up. I know that one's not completely down. I didn't pivot this one. But you could do a pose like that. So it's typical with chicken fried toys. The ankles are always just a little bit. The rotation is there, that's for sure. So you can definitely rotate back and forth. The pivot and the hinge are usually what's more difficult than the others. Over here with this sheath, it looks like it is not movable. It can't slide. It is attached directly in there. So this is where you've got your sheath right there. And the sheath is, well, for this knife. Let's slide it in right there. Let's give him his hat. Let's start making him look geared up, shall we? So let's see what else. He's got no holsters that I see, so we don't have a place to put any of the guns. But let's do this. Put the tomahawk in his left hand, because I just think that's a very cool accessory. That's an accessory I really like. I think that's pretty awesome. You don't get a tomahawk with action figures typically. And we'll give him... Actually, let's give him this gun, because the rifles typically... You can hold it with one hand, but usually people use two hands to fire it, to hold and aim and fire. And since he's got the tomahawk, he can't really hold with his second hand now, can he? So there's a very quick geared up version of Black Rope. I will just scoot this stuff off to the side. So this is what Black Rope looks like, all geared up, or at least as geared up as I'm going to make it. Yeah. Although the tomahawk might look better in the other hand, just because of the feather detail. Right here is facing inward of the figure, so if you have him standing like maybe at this kind of a position, not like that, but kind of off a little bit like so, then you would miss the detail possibly. It'd probably be better to see it over here on the right hand. Alright, let's move on to the next figure. To the Field Veteran, and on the left side we have the actual figure in hand, while on the right side there is the digital render that you've all seen for quite some time now. And take a peek, see what differences that you can spot, if there are any. So getting up close and looking at his accessories, we have a knife that looks oh so similar, a handgun, a rifle with a shoulder strap, his hat, and finally the Chicken Fried Toys figure stand with 3 pegs. So let's get in close and look at the head sculpt first. Pretty close right there. I think it looks pretty nice. He's got a little yellow scarf around his neck. He's got a nice blue coat and a red shirt with light blue pants and gray inner fabric. He's got a whole bunch of things going on here with his belt. He's got this holster over here on the side. He's got a knife sheath over here on the left side. Oh, by the way, this holster, as I've mentioned before, it doesn't open. You can't actually tuck the gun in there. It's a solid piece. Unless I'm totally missing something, I can't seem to open it. He's got a nice little gold US belt buckle that he's wearing. This belt does move around. It slides up and down and rotates around. Let's see. Nothing going on behind the coat for the belt. And the black boots, gold spurs, and gold buckles. These are more bronze, I guess. I guess this figure and the last figure, they're more bronze than gold. It's kind of like gold bronze. It's another nice Cavalry figure, I think. He's got all the typical, let's scoot the gear off. He has all the typical articulation that a Chicken Fried Toys action figure has. Begin with the neck, it rotates around and around. If you look down, he can look down like there. He can look up about like that, not too bad. Nice torso wiggle. He can bend all over the place, looking forward, bending at the waist, bending back. Actually, he doesn't bend back nearly as far as Black Rope. Arm rotates all the way around, and again, I'll mention, if the joints are tight, don't hesitate. Like this joint has been really difficult for me over here. Don't hesitate to take some hot water, dunk these figures, or get a hairdryer and heat them up a little bit. Make sure these joints are well working so you don't have a problem with them. These seem to be just less than 90 degrees at the elbow, but there is a hinge and rotation at the elbow, hinge and rotation at the wrist, and again, the gloves are such that it's a little bit difficult to actually use those hinges, but they are there. If you want him to do the splits, he can go up about that far. If you want him to sit, he sits a little bit better, but that coat is going to be a bit of a hindrance. Double pin knees, back that far, and the rotation, pivot, and hinge down here at the ankle, still about the same level. These are, I think, the exact same boots as the last figure, so you're not going to get a whole lot out of them. They do rotate. See? Rotates back and forth. They do pivot. You can do a few little poses, but you're going to be wanting to use the figure stand for a lot of posing that are going to be kind of weird. Like you can do posing like this if you want to. Why would you want to? I don't know. It's just something I chose real fast. But you can do just about anything you want with that figure stand. So, we have a knife. Let's slide it in right there. We have a hat. Let's put it on right there and see how he looks with that hat on. He's looking like a Civil War guy. Not a Civil War, but he looks like a cavalry guy there. We'll put this on. And actually, you might want to rotate that up before sliding it on. So he's got his rifle that he's carrying here on his right shoulder. Tuck this handgun into his left hand over here and just kind of have it drape in there just a little bit. He's not really serious about holding it up. I'm having difficulties with this guy getting this shoulder rifle and strap on. They've been staying in the past. Maybe I need to tuck it under the bandana there. I don't know if that's actually going to help, but it can bring his arm up a little bit. And a better person than I, not on video, could actually put this into his hand and maneuver it in such a way he's actually holding it, because they wouldn't just, I don't think they would just let this hang. I believe they'd actually be holding onto it as they're walking or moving. So that's what you're going to want to do, is get the hand wrapped around the rifle. But there, this is the field veteran. We'll back up so you can get a better full shot of him right there. Looking nice, looking geared up. And a quick final look at the Native Scout and the Field Veteran. I kind of reworked their gearing up just a little bit so they looked a little bit better. One thing I did notice about the rifles as I wrap this up is that they've got a little trigger sticking down, and if you're not careful, when you put the finger through the trigger, it could actually push that trigger sideways just a little bit. So be careful not to break the little trigger off when you're putting the finger in the hole. Another thing to mention is that these figures will come with some rank insignia stickers. While mine are samples, they didn't come with those stickers. Yours will, and that's why I didn't show them. I'll pop them up real quick here in the middle so you can see what they look like. And as I said, yours will come with them while I don't have them. So again, people are getting their emails saying the Cavalry is on their way. And soon, I don't know how soon, but the leftovers, the extras will be going up on the Chicken Fried Toys website. And when they do, I will post a little message to the community section saying that they are live. Some of these will be easier to get. Some of them, I hear, won't be many. So if you missed the Kickstarter and you are wanting some of these figures, you're going to want to hop over to that website as soon as those orders or those in-stock items show up, if you don't want to miss them. Before you head out the door, if you missed my last Cavalry video, check down here in the bottom left corner, click on that and take a watch. Otherwise, I will see you next time.